has started. All right. So just to let everybody know, we'll be recording today's session, and we want to welcome everybody to our presentation today of virtual tours today for hybrid work in Viva Connections and Teams. My name is Michael Gannotti. I'm a principal technology specialist here at Microsoft in our healthcare and life sciences group. You can always find myself as well as my colleagues like Sue, who's going to be handling Q&A during today at our blog at aka.ms/HLSblog. That's aka.ms/HLSblog. Before we jump in, a couple of quick housekeeping items just to call your attention to. So, I want to go back, previous. The first of which is if you are attending, you will note that your mic and your video camera has been disabled. That's not to say we won't let you on. As we have Q&A and questions come up, just for manageability's sake, those are, we have those muted by default. We can unmute you, allow you to ask your questions as we're going through, and then go back. But it's just to help with the flow to make sure everything can go forward. So that's the first thing. The other is there is a chat available. And again, Sue will be monitoring the chat. So if you have questions, feel free to type them in. You can also use the hands up. Again, I can't see any of that. I'm on a single screen here. So she'll let me know when people do hands up, need to be admitted, or have questions. But all of this is going to be recorded. It will be available via the blog, aka.ms/HLSblog. I'll also have a copy of my slides, and all the resources for today will be available, and you'll be able to grab those, download those with the recording. So without further ado, let's go ahead and begin. What we're going to be covering today is this, and we'll have plenty of time for Q&A because this is simple. And so we're going to start off with an overview of what virtual tours are, how we allow and enable users or folks within your IT, within facilities, your internal communications group, et cetera, to provide virtual tours of physical facilities so that folks in a hybrid world, whether they're going to a different location that they may have not been to, whether they've been hired during the pandemic and have never been on site, we're now going to bring them on. Maybe you did building consolidation and people who are returning are going to a different location, whatever the case might be. I have clinicians who actually roam from, they get assigned periodically and moved to different hospital facilities. And so, going to this new facility, how do I hit the ground running, know what everything is laid out like, resources, et cetera? We're going to cover all that. Then we're going to get into actually building a virtual tours demo instance so that you can see how it can be done, how you can do it if you want to demonstrate it to your colleagues and perhaps socialize that in your organization. Then we're going to add that said tour to Viva Connections dashboard. And that's one of the big things as we look at Microsoft Viva. Viva Connections has been by far, for me, the hottest piece that I've been pinged on quite frequently. And so we're going to show you how to add that very quickly and how it will work not only here on a computer, but on a phone, right? So I have an iPhone. I've even taped. I did a demo instance this morning with that I brought up within Viva Connections on my phone, on my iPhone, and I taped showing how it can actually work full fidelity from a mobile view as well. So that's important. So we'll go through how to build that out, how to add that to Connections very quickly, and you'll see it literally will take minutes. Then we're going to go through some resources and, of course, open Q&A. Now, having said that, as we go through, if you have questions, like I said, type them in the chat, raise the hand. Sue will let me know. We'll be able to unmute you, bring you off mute. We'll be able to address those questions as we go because this is your time and I want to make it worth your while. So without further ado, let's get into an overview of virtual tours and what those are. So first off, when we talk about what a virtual tour is, there are a number of scenarios that we're addressing, and I talked about those previously, right? The first of which is for new hires. You have folks, whether they're just coming to your location, you may have just hired them. You may have hired them during the pandemic and they've never been to a physical location or to the new one that they're going to. So the ability to provide them for a tour through that environment virtually and to be able to bring it into Teams. I'll show you how to do that as well. How to bring it in Teams directly, how to bring it in through your intranet, how to bring it in through Viva Connections, but bringing it to people so where they're at, they can get to the tour and be able to process and go through and learn about the environment so that they're not, stumbling around trying to find their way, navigate through hallways, et cetera, and even have, as you'll see, information at their fingertips as they go through. One of the other scenarios is this need for onboarding, again, and facilities familiarization, training around facilities, tools and processes and procedures. So one of the examples I'll frequently talk about is I did have a hospital that during the pandemic, as they had to move some clinicians around, they wanted to be able to, for example, let's say we're talking about the pre-op in the OR room, the operating room, right? So they have equipment that's staged in various areas. They have procedures that they go through, and being able to allow a physician or a clinician of some kind that's coming on site for the first time to be able to click through and to be able to see all that, experience it in 3 dimensions and interact with it so they could see things like videos that walk them through what's available within that particular room or series of rooms that they might be going through, the various tools, the instruments that they're going to use. What are the procedures for interacting with those? Do they have anything they need to sign off on? Being able to provide all that within that piece, that's huge. Also, we have workers, again, like I mentioned, who may be as a result of building consolidation or reassignment, they're going on, allowing them to hit the ground running. And just as an example, I'm in a Malvern office in PA. I used to work here, but I had to reactivate my badge for access prior. So the ability to provide not only a tour through, but also instructions on how to do things like badge access, et cetera. Finally, everything that I'm going to show you today, it's based on existing technology you and your organization probably know. SharePoint Online has a piece of technology that we're going to look at in just a second called Sharepoint Spaces. I'll show you what that looks like, how it works, and we're going to leverage that to build these environments very quickly. And the beauty of it is it works not only in a, down this bullet point that says immersive, it works not only on a Mac or PC and mobile, but also AR and VR. And you'll see that there will be a little icon that's there that if I had such a device, I could simply have it plugged into my computer, whether it's a, Microsoft HoloLens or a Oculus device, and be able to click and then immerse myself and experience the environment in this, whole new technology of virtual reality, augmented reality in the environments that we're interacting with. It's also super easy to implement virtual tours. You'll see it's simple point and click. I don't need to be a technician or a technologist. I can be an end user. I can be a facilities personnel who knows the facilities and is making these views available. And then finally, the content is rich, contextually rich. I talked about that. I want to show it instead of keep mumbling about it. But the final piece is this: virtual tours from a hardware standpoint, you can leverage simple off-the-shelf consumer devices such as the Insta360 X2 or, you know, the ones that are out there, various cameras by Ricoh and others that are 360. The one I'd recommend, you know, personally, that I think is great, and I've seen it does just tremendous work out of the box. It's higher than 4K, is the Insta360 1X, but, excuse me, 1X2. But if you have something like the latest Ricoh one, that one, again, above 4K, costs a little more, but a phenomenal device. But all of them allow you to go through, simply walk through a facility, occasionally taking a 360 image picture and provide what we're about to show. So let's go ahead and get into a demonstration of that. Before I do so, Sue, do I have any questions?
No, sir.
All right. So we are going to jump in. So to start with, I'm going to take a very simple example that I've already preloaded into a site. And here you can see this is a SharePoint online website. I use the onboarding, Contoso onboarding template, which you can get at lookbook.microsoft.com. We offer these free of charge. To get you started, you'll note I have editing rights to the site. And I added a quick little link up here, though, to virtual tours. Also, before I click that, though, just to show you, to create what we're going to create in a moment, it's already built in. Spaces is a piece of your technology that you own if you have SharePoint Online. So keep that in mind. But I've already added a very simple one, similar to what we're going to access in a moment. And I called it Virtual Tours, just added a quick link at the top. Now you'll see when I click this here, it's going to provide me, and I have a single virtual tour, one to the Welcome Center. But I could have many on this palette. And this palette is 360-degree view. So kind of fancy. Note that I'm using my mouse. I'm simply clicking and holding down the mouse button and then dragging the views that I want to be able to navigate in this entrance hall that can have many such virtual views. I also have here, there's that headset icon, readily accessible for me. Finally, I'm just going to click edit. We're not going to add anything here, but you'll note if I come in here and I give a plus, we have a range of content. We're going to be only showing today the 360-degree tour, but there are other elements that I could add onto this initial palette. For example, a 360 spherical image, a single image that people can view, navigate around, maybe a particular room, and that I can add the same type of pieces that you're going to see in a moment for interaction. We also have a 360 video. If you've never experienced 360 video, it is so cool. It allows you to take a video with a camera, 360 camera, that's in real time capturing everything in 360 degrees. So as the video is playing, perhaps you're on a vehicle going through a town, or somebody's walking through a hallway and they're talking and narrating, saying, here we see to the left, to the right. It's capturing that full 360, so the person experiencing it is not limited to a single 2D screen in front of them, but in fact, they can turn around, maneuver, or use their mouse to do the same here, right? So very simple. We also have 3D objects, including animated ones. I can display document libraries. I can embed here. So if I want to embed a video or something else, that's available. We have a file viewer, an image viewer, a people chart, text, and video. So a whole range of different stuff that's available. I'm just going to say discard changes because we're not adding anything. We're going to keep this simple view. And oh, there it is. And the way that this works is as follows. I simply come here and I click that object, and it brings me now into this 360-degree view. So here you can see I'm looking at this. I use the Microsoft Welcome Center. I have some photos for that that somebody took. And you can see we can navigate around. We can look up all the way. I don't want to get blinded. We can look down, and it is done in 360 degrees. But on top of that, you'll note these elements that I have placed on here. So for example, it started off in this view. And as I mouse over, you can see it says welcome, and there's a play button. So this, I recorded an audio recording. And if I click it,
welcome to Contoso headquarters. If you proceed through the main entrance, you will find offices such as human resources and others.
There you go. And so it's going to go ahead and it welcomes the people to that particular area. You could have any audio describing anything within that view. I'll show you video in a moment. We also have here, I have some text. I can see, oh, this is the Welcome Center right up here. This allows me to enter the Welcome Center to maneuver, and we'll see how we'll go from 360-degree environment to 360 degrees. I just added a couple of other things just for the heck of it. I added an image. So here you can see there's an image. But you can have any kind of image. I'm going to show you the various things you can add. And then we have another element, welcome to the Welcome Center parking lot. But we want to take a tour. So we're going to enter this particular environment. It's going to take us to our next 360-degree view. And you can see this is where we were outside. And now we've entered into this hallway that leads up to the Welcome Center entrance doors. I have a video that will welcome visitors to here just to show something a little different. So if I click that, this will come up. Hi, welcome to the Contoso Visitor Center. I hope you will enjoy. I can't even talk, so my video is a little jumbly, but you get the idea, right? So we can have video describing and pointing out things and showing whatever we can show in a video. And just for the heck of it, I wanted to show a file. In this case, I put a PDF. But we're going to use a different one. We're actually going to use a checklist. And so I'm going to come in here and say, oh, I want to see this particular PDF. And I can view it. I can go large with that. I can break it out and go full screen so I can actually read it, not just see the preview. And once I'm full screen, then I can do things like print, whatever I'd like or need to do from that. So we have all this content here. And the beauty of it is that I'm going to come over here to Teams, right? And within Teams, let's say I wanted to add that to a team. Well, here we go. If I come over here, I'm looking at this particular group. It's the marketing group. And they've added that landing as a tab. And it will work just the same within Teams as it did here. So here again, there it is. You can see our headset icon. I can click, and I have all the same levels of interaction.
Welcome to Contoso headquarters.
All right, everything that I wanted previously is available there. So it allows me to have everything at my fingertips. One last view I want to show you, and then we're going to get into how to build this. I'll take some questions if you have some, and then we'll get into how to go ahead and build this. But if we come on back here, and let's expand that. I created, as I said, I took that exact same piece. I had added it to my Viva Connections dashboard, which I rendered then on my iPhone. And then I grabbed a quick video. So I'm going to walk through and again show you kind of what that looks like. So here we are, and I'm going to click. It's going to begin scrolling in a moment. There's my tile you can see, and gone ahead. I clicked it there. Then I tap on the Welcome Center, and it brings me in. I ended up inadvertently clicking and exiting, going back. Then I went back in. I hit the audio, and you'll see.
Welcome to Contoso headquarters.
There you go. It's going to go. There we go. And we cut it short, thankfully. And I went through the same similar process of showing things and then clicking on the different elements to show how they work, clicking through. But the beauty of it is you can see whether I'm on my PC, a Mac, a browser, or through my mobile device, whether it's a Android or iOS, I have full access to everything we are going to see. Hi, welcome to the Contoso Visitor Center. We'll go ahead and pause that. So the beauty, like I said, I can get to it anywhere, anytime, any place securely. It all works. It's a simple setup, and it's very powerful. And in this case, I grabbed it from that Viva Connections dashboard. So let's go ahead and we're going to set up a virtual tour. But before we do that, do we have any questions, Sue? Or hands raised?
Yeah, sure. I'm watching like a hawk.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Everybody's quiet. All right.
But I do want to make the comment how cool I think it is that the majority of our customers already have what it takes to do this.
Yeah. I mean, they could, even if they don't,
Awesome.
they don't even need connections, right? They could still start, but we're going to take it that step further. So what we're going to do is this. We're going to set up a virtual tour. So what we need for that is 360 content. I've already pre-gathered it, so it'll be simple. What you're going to want to do, and here they're just showing an example of a screen with a tour here, and then a bunch of other stuff that you can click through. But you're able to, if you don't know where to get content, just go and Bing it, Google it, Yahoo it, DuckDuckGo it, whatever. But look for 360 images, and you'll be able to grab a couple and play with it and set it up. If you do have a 360 phone, or excuse me, camera, then you can take your own real quickly and set those up. So we're going to gather. The first thing is you need to gather it. The next is to record any supplemental files. So if you want to do welcomes, explanations, etc. of things, it's simply recording a video and audio. You can do it on your phone. You can do it off of your PC. You can do it off of whatever you like, whatever makes sense for you. I actually did the audio right off of my PC, and then I did the video. I recorded using Teams. I just did the record function like we're recording today. Then you're going to enable SharePoint Spaces and build out the tour. You'll see how that works. Link it to our SharePoint home site or Viva Connections. And what I'm going to do is I'll show you both the tab view, like I mentioned here, but I'm going to bring it into Viva Connections because I think that's really cool and it's stupid simple to do. And so without further ado, let's go ahead and let's build one. So we are going to come back up here. And in this case, we're going to do that off of our site, the landing. So here is the landing. It is running connections. You can see we have the dashboard. We've got the company feed and all that good stuff going on here, right? So very rich site. We've got a full dashboard, full feed. We've got company news, events, etc. But I want to make a virtual tour available for our employees, so as they're returning, or maybe we're having a big event finally that we're all coming back together, people will know how to navigate through. And to do so, I'm going to come in, I'm going to click new, and then we're going to click space. And so this is going to open up SharePoint Spaces. Now, I don't know if you noticed that it said activating it because I had not turned it on previously here for this site, but it took care of that for me. So it went ahead, it did that. Now, obviously, I need editing capability for this site, right? So I'm somebody who's helping to run that. So it could be corporate communications, who's doing your homepage in SharePoint, internal marketing, whoever that is, they need to have that editing rights or be working with the people. So the next step is we want to do a virtual. I'm going to say, Welcome Center. Help if I could spell. Welcome Center VR Tour. And you can call it whatever you'd like. I could give it a description here. I'm not going to bother with that. And the next step I have is I do have the ability to pick a structure. A structure is, if you remember, we had, I think I had this one set up for the example we looked at. where you're on that palette, as it were, that's 360 degrees, where I can put one or more objects in there that I'm going to then interact with. In this case, I'll pick the geodome. I don't know why I just thought of Mad Max when I said that, but we're going to go ahead, click create. You can see it says building the environment, final touches, all done. Now you'll note there is no icon down here. That's because it brings us automatically into the edit view. But here's that environment so I can look all around. But I want to go ahead and edit. And to do that, I'm going to click Space Design. It then allows me to change the structure if I want. I could pick a plain one. I can change the background. So it put an illustration. I could select an image that's here if I wanted to, so I could have a pretty image. I can also use a color, or if I have my own 360 file, I could, custom one. Maybe I want to show, for example, the atrium of a large building where you're entering, right? And I could have that there. And then for the places that you're going to navigate to, provide those as the objects that we're going to build. But I'm just going to pick color. I'll pick the blue because I'm boring. And I'll close Space Design. So the next thing for us is to actually add objects to our palette. So we're going to select 360 Tour. And note my cursor now has this little guy that's following along, trailing. That is looking for me to click it somewhere and place it on the palette for that tour. So I'm going to pick right here. I'm going to click, and it's going to ask for an initial image. We're going to go ahead and upload. And I have located on my desktop, I put a folder, Virtual Tours. I spelled it wrong, Virtual Tours Media. And I'm going to select those same ones that we did. We'll stick with that because that's what I've got here. And I'm going to select that initial image. It's now uploading it. There it is. And I'm going to say add image. It's going to upload the file and add it now to that. And so I have this initial box here. If I click, I can start to just grab and resize that. So let's make it a little bigger. And you'll note that it used the image itself to create, create that kind of preview there. So let's make that a little bigger. There we go. Once I have that there, I can further add to it. Perhaps I want to go ahead and add, oh, I don't know, some text in front of it. Note it even put shadowing based on the lighting that's inherent with this particular one. So I could add some text here, and I'll say, I'm going to add that right here. And we'll say, we'll click in it. Whoop. We'll click in there. We're going to call this Welcome Center. So we'll give it a name. We can affect the size of our text. We can make that a little bigger if we wanted. Then we can, I'll say bold. I can change colors, all the things you're used to doing. Then I'm going to go ahead and select center. And then I can drag that where I want it to display. So I'm going to go ahead, just put it right there. We'll get a better idea once we publish it. But we're finished with that. So I'm going to say publish. And it's going to say your space has been saved. It's going to provide us a link here. I'm going to copy that address and just put that in a little notepad file for safekeeping. There we go. And then we'll close that. And there we are. There's our Welcome Center. You can see we've provided the beginnings of it. Here's our headset view. And what I want to do now is begin to edit and flesh out our virtual tour. So we added virtual tour here, put our first image. So when I click, you'll note it's going to bring me into that view, but I'm not really seeing much of anything, right? I'm just seeing the image. Nothing's been added. So I'm going to select edit. And it says I can add more virtual images. We'll go ahead and we could add all of them. If we had a whole bunch of them, we could. I'm going to select just that one additional that we're going to put here. But if you had a whole sequence, you could go, you can always go back and add additional, and it's going to upload that image. There we go. So now what we want to do is start to place things on our image, our 360-degree image, that again, people can look all around. And so remember, we did the audio welcome. I'm going to go ahead and just click. Notice how the mouse is a crosshair. When I click, it brings me, I can click to link it to another 360 or annotate this image. So annotation, these are the options I have. I can add text, I can add an image, I can add a video, an audio file, a file, or a 3D object. So let's say, for example, you had a cat image or an animated image of a heart or some other component. We'll add something goofy in there from that palette in just a moment, but I'll show you what that looks like. But you can add all kinds of things. So really, as much as your imagination can take you or the kind of things you want to provide for interactivity, we can add those. So here I'm going to go ahead and add audio. And it's going to go ahead and ask us to upload. So I select upload. I put my welcome MP3 in that same folder conveniently. So we're going to go ahead, say open, and add the item. There we go. There's our welcome file. And now look, I can autoplay. I could add closed captions. I could say, for example, for the description, I'll just say welcome audio. Do you want to show it on hover, show it always that description, or never? I'm just going to leave the default, and then I simply click outside, and now my element is live. I can move that around if I wanted, just by clicking and holding, and then placing it where I'd like. And we could go through, continue to add additional elements. So let's go ahead. We'll just add something for the heck of it that's not one that you saw in my previous. We'll add a 3D object. And we do have a 3D catalog, but I could upload if I had a CAD or some other animated image that I wanted. We'll pick an automated file here. And we'll pick a heart just because that's a fun one. And it could be any ones that you have, and we'll just say heart. There we go. So now we've got the heart that's been added, and you'll see how that works in a moment. And we could continue to add to this, but I want to preview it. So what I'm going to do is say republish. It's gone ahead and republished that. Now there's the audio.
Welcome to Contoso headquarters.
Yep, works. We also can come up here to our heart. Select that. There's our heart. And notice I can, since it's a 3D object, I can work with it. I can maneuver it, move it around. I can zoom in, zoom out. All those features are available. And again, I could do that with a headset or via my mouse or my finger on the phone. But now what we want to do is actually do a pass through. So we're going to go ahead and select edit again. We want to go to the next stage of our tour. So I'm going to click here, say link a 360 image. We'll select the other image I added, and we can go ahead and say select, and I will say entrance, and we'll go ahead and add that. Then finally, the one other piece I hadn't shown you yet, notice it says set as starting view of this image. So if there's a particular point I want to start at, I simply, while I'm in the edit view, drag it to that point, click set as starting. So now when I click republish, it's going to begin from that view, or every time I come to this, including when we add this momentarily to our dashboard. So here we go. We're going to drag, and then you can see I can click, and now I am through into my next view that we have here. So I can go ahead from this view and I can click edit and start to work with it. So we'll do that. But I do want to point something out. I didn't have to republish to begin editing this particular view. I could have simply double clicked the other image, right? So now this is bringing me back to the original. Now, if I want to go to this one, we'll double click and here we are. And it's going to open that up. So now from here, I can add some additional content. I want to add the welcome video. So we'll say annotate. We're going to add a video file. And again, we're going to upload. And there's my MP4 welcome. Add the item. It's going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to say welcome video. And again, this could be in a room and it could be a description talking about the room and what's available there. I'm just going to say welcome video here. And then maybe if you're in a room or some other area, you might want to have a checklist or descriptions of various equipment and content. In this case, I'm going to add a PDF file. And if I upload, this time I put a checklist, and this is actually for a hospital, and you'll see that in a moment. So I'm going to say add document. And I'll say checklist. This could be a checklist you needed for building access, and it could have within that PDF then a link to where to go ahead and do building access, whatever that case might be. But now we've enabled that. We'll set this as the starting view here. Then we're going to publish this particular view. So now we have the ability to come here and I can click that video. It's going to go ahead, pull that up and begin playing that.
Hi, welcome to the Contoso.
There we go. I can close that. We have that checklist that, again, I get a preview. I can come up to a full view, in which case it's going to open it up here in a full browser view in this case, and then I can go ahead and do all the things that you're used to doing with a PDF, like zooming in, right? Maybe I want to zoom in to 200%. And you can see here, we have a whole pre-op checklist in this particular case for patients. But we can go ahead and provide that kind of a view very quickly. These are some of the types of elements we can do in our virtual environment. And in fact, we could also have included linking back to the previous one so that I could click here or click down here and it would take me out into that previous one that we went, or inside the building and moving on through. So that's a very quick and simple rendition of that. And all of that was done here in the terms of our homepage portal, right? We have this new piece, but now the last piece of the puzzle is to add it here to the dashboard. So again, I need editing rights. I'm going to come in and say set up Viva connections, and I'm going to say view the dashboard. You can see all the items we've added to this particular dashboard. Well, we're going to click edit, come on down here, and there is add a card. And you'll notice I have a number of cards here. I could add many more as available, but I'm going to use a very simple one called a web link. And it says create a dashboard card that links to any web page. I don't know, like our virtual tour. So I'm going to click the edit button here. And we are going to grab from that notepad. Here is the link that we had made. So we'll add that and watch this. It's going to grab a preview of that right here without me doing anything. I could, grab a custom image, but I'm just going to stick with that. And we're going to call this our VR tour right here. And notice it changed that. We have welcome center tour. I could have put anything I want there. I could even audience profile target this to just specific groups within our organization. But the last thing I want to do is move this. So I'm going to actually move it up front and center so that we see it. And let's just go ahead so our stuff stays nice and neat looking. Let's move the cafeteria menus. Whoops, get up here. Move them up. And I'm going to get them up there, whether they like it or not. There we go. No, it's not going to let me. Let's take HoloLens. Maybe you'll go up easier. Nothing wants to go. Come on.
Yeah, your live demo is going too smoothly. You needed something.
It's going. I had to have something happen, right?
Here it is.
So there we go. Let's make this. I'll make this one media. There we go. Everything went back. I'm going to click republish. So it's now, there we go. So now we have our links, right? Or all of our dashboard tiles that are enabled here. I've got one for HoloLens. I got all kinds of stuff. But I'm going to come now back to the home page for the landing. And we're going to, there it is. It's already showing. So I can see right from my home page, from that dashboard, you know, I have this particular piece here. It says open in a new tab, and I can click. It's going to open it. That's nice. But what's really powerful is if I come back to Teams and I go to Viva Connections, because again, Viva Connections is about bringing the intranet to the employee versus the employee going to it. So here I have my Viva Connections, which I'm sure everybody here owns, because if you own Teams and SharePoint Online, you own the rights to use this. So I have my Viva Connections icon that's been enforced by IT to the upper left-hand corner. So when I open Teams to start off my day, here it is front and center. And what's there? My tour. And if I click my tour, it's going to go ahead right within the context of Teams. I've never left. It's going to open that up. There I am. And I can start to maneuver through just like I would if I was on the home page itself, and like I showed you earlier through the mobile view. So it's actually very simple to do. So before I continue on PowerPoint, any questions, you can raise your hand, you can type it, anything, Sue.
Yeah, we had a couple of people drop, but Michelle just made a really good point. You might have been having issues moving those cards because you might have had one that was audience specific. That might be why it was.
That's in there, and I do have a few in there. So thank you, Michelle. You're right. I hadn't even thought of that. You get adding all this stuff and then you forget what you have there. So as you're looking to try to do something with this, a couple of places I just want to point you to. And again, I'm going to include all these resources. So there is a location for SharePoint Spaces that gives you kind of the whiz bang wow with various use case scenarios of using Spaces, because maybe you don't want a virtual tour. Maybe you want something else or a number of things on a palette. Maybe you want to facilitate a virtual conference, which I have had customers who have done this using SharePoint Spaces. So if you go to here, it has this one here for SharePoint Spaces. Yeah, you're verifying it. So it's going to open that up. This is going to bring you into this whole kind of cool web page. It's going to walk you through various experiences, right? That talks to it, how you can get it. It's going to take you through virtual tours, training, learning beyond the classroom, unlocking creativity, and then it's going to have some additional links there. You're going to have access to that. The other link I've provided is on Tech Community. There's a whole announcement and a series of resources that are provided around this piece. You'll be able to get to that. And then we have also help, support around step-by-step enabling, working with it, and kind of everything you ever wanted to know about that, that's there. And then we also have a series of directions that walk you through step-by-step, creating your first space. We also have some links on using 360 imagery. I showed you how to do that, but typically people also want something you can click, open, and then kind of walk through. So have a link to that. We also have a link to the support on recommendations and best practices. And I do want to show that one because there's a lot of pieces around in that particular one. So they have some best practices with then subsequent links, like what can I use it for? That'll bring you back to the one we saw. What 3D object formats are supported? So here we go through and they talk about recommended ones, GLB, GLTF format, 3D models, but you can also see a full list of supported file types by clicking on here, and then 3D content guidelines here as well. 3D video formats, what should you use? And they have the considerations and best practices right here. We'll link to that as well. After choosing the file, if you have an error, what you should take a look at there and how to resolve that. So provided the link to that here. And then finally, device support. What devices? So besides a Mac, a PC, could be a Linux box with a browser, right? I was just using the Edge browser here on mine to render everything. But when I showed that video here on my iPhone, that was Safari on iOS, because Safari has continued to update the browser for iOS and to make that much more compatible with HTML5 capability, which we're leveraging here, right? So we're going to provide you all those devices, including your VR, et cetera, here. So that's there. And then, of course, the video will be available. But that's really what we have here. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to stop sharing. And I don't want to share that. I want to click here and go back down to my Teams. And here, and I'll say stop share. And does anybody have any last questions?
So no last questions, but Michelle also, this will be great for people that catch this recording. She also shared where she helped Polaris with spaces and teams for an internal innovation symposium.
Yeah.
Back in 21. So just for some other use cases, she shared that with us. So that'll be in the chat. For
We actually, there is, I don't know if I'm free to say their name or not, but last year I posted how to do virtual events using spaces and how you could connect to live events and teams and all that whole bit. And I had done a lengthy post. Then we actually had some external folks. We had a large medical professional organization host their events in that, and I helped them get that running. But then one of our oh shoot, what do we call? You're gonna have to help me, Sue. My brain is
starts with, sounds like.
No, our customer satisfaction manager. There we go. I got it. CSM.
Anyway,
one of my CSMs came to me, and they had a hospital that hosted their event. They were a large nationwide chain of hospitals, huge org, and they had hosted a nursing event completely through this using that same stuff that we had showed. And they actually started working with, they wanted to do some more work. So they're connected now with the Spaces team around future stuff they're doing. So it is, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that's awesome. That's really cool. I think it's just only going to grow from here. And in the hybrid work, I think this is critical because I can't be there. This is the second best thing.
And I'll tell you, I was on a call earlier today with a very large international pharma who we were talking about Viva topics and Viva learning. And then they said that they just kind of threw offhand how, oh, well, we also, they're arranging for me to come in and do a whole big Viva all up presentation with a bunch of senior executives and stakeholders. And they said, and they had the guy from licensing and that was on too. And they said, hey, we want to circle back with you too, because we want to talk to Microsoft about what they're doing with the HoloLens and then also Oculus, because we want to do some VR kind of stuff. And I laughed and I said, it's funny you mentioned. So we're going to be doing that in their big Viva piece. But
nice.
So that's it. Thank you for attending. And as always, go to aka.ms/HLS blog. That's aka.ms/HLS youtube.com/HLS blog. This video will be posted there along with all the resource links and a PDF version of what you saw. And I will include the scroll kind of through, broke out piece with just the video for the mobile so that people can just readily see that. And they can even, I'll let them download it so they can leverage that. So without further ado, I'm going to stop recording here, but I want to thank everybody for today and have a great day, great rest of your week from MidDay Cafe. As always, caffeine up and ciao.